Alright guys, I'm going to just walk you through the critical thinking answers for Cowboy's Life on page 514. And the first question we had, what qualifies Teddy Blue as a reliable source? So, what I did was I put an answer in here. Teddy Blue qualifies as a reliable source of information because, and you can kind of see the answer already, but how did I get to the point where I said because he led, it should be A as successful, led a successful cattle drives, I'm sorry, I was right. He led successful cattle drives in the 1880s. Well, where did I get that information from? What I did was I used my footnotes in the book, and I'm going to just kind of show you here. I have it up here. I have it highlighted right at the beginning of the story. It says a drive's success depended on discipline and planning, according to Teddy Blue. And then you had this little one. It's a footnote. If we pay attention to those footnotes, we go down and we find the footnote. One, and I highlighted this too, Teddy Blue was really Edward T. Abbott, a cowboy who rode in a successful trail drive in the 1880s. And so that allows us to put that as our answer. That's why he's a reliable source of information. The second part is look for a detail. Back your answer up. So I went ahead and usually you don't do this because you don't have it in the footnotes exactly, and sometimes it's in the text, but I just use the footnote as my detail. I think that should be good enough. One detail that proves this is the footnote explaining that Teddy led a successful cattle drive in the 1880s, and that should be fine. And that's your answer for number one. Now, number two asked about what were some ways that violence was kept down on the trail. Now, I'm just going to show you again how you can use your book. If you're using the online version, there's things you can do. See, up here on my arrow, I'm right here on the little pin tool. And what I did was you can click on this. You should be able to see this. If I click on this, see how it's dragging this little pin note right here? Now, I've already done this on the page. But I go to it, and then I can actually make a note. Okay, now mine says share with students because you guys are the students. For yours, you have little sticky notes that you can make, and you can make that in your book because you knew that the question was what are some ways that violence was kept down. So you're over here. Most cowboys had guns but rarely used them on the trail. Some outfits made them keep their weapons in the chuck wagon to eliminate any chance of gunplay. So I go over to my answers. There's my first reason why violence was kept down on the trail. Violence was kept down on the trail by making cowboys keep their guns in the chuck wagon. So there's my first part. Now my second part was that trail bosses were drafting agreements for the cowboys to sign before the drive, and that's actually right here on my second note. I had written in here, I think I have to say, I go up here and I say show the notes. I believe my note should click up here. It's not doing it right now. Right there it is. Agreements made before drives. I just made a quick little note. Agreements were made before drives began because I knew that that could go into my answer because I had previewed my questions because we wrote out the beginnings of the answers to the questions on Friday. Okay, so I'll go ahead and go back to the rest of the questions. Number three, the rest of number two was what type of a person would succeed as a cowboy? Well, you just have to kind of think about what were some of the qualities that people needed. What are some of the maybe personality traits that you would need on the cattle drives? So I just put the person that succeeded as a cowboy was someone who would, and I put it in blue, they would work long hours. They did not mind discomfort because it wasn't very comfortable. They talked about that in the story. And maybe they were willing to be away from their family for long stretches of time. Okay, and that would take care of giving some qualities of a person who might succeed on the drive. And then question three asked about the settlers and the homesteaders. Why did they object to cattle coming through the land? Well, if you read, you go back in your story, and you could use a note, and I didn't put a note to show you now because I kind of showed you how to do it, but settlers objected to cattle coming through the land because the cattle would ruin their crop and spread disease. Then in part B, you had to infer. Why did the cowboys object to changing their route? Well, if your route was longer, why would you object to it? Because it's longer. So the cowboys probably objected to changing their route because it would become longer and they had started driving before the settlers arrived. That'd be another reason. If you've already been driving and nobody was there and now somebody's there and they're forcing you around, you're probably not going to be very happy about it. So you're only making an inference there, and that would be good enough for an inference of why they probably objected to it. The third part then asked what solution could they have come up with. And I'm going to stop the tape right now. We can discuss what solutions you think these people could have made to their problems. Okay, then I'm just going to move on to question 4 and 5. These are discussion and opinion questions then that we'll go ahead and we'll continue to discuss in class right now. Okay, but I just wanted you to see kind of how that should look whenever you're going through looking for your answers to these critical thinking questions. How to write in sentences, how to look up the information, keep track of it, all those types of things. Like I said, we'll go ahead and we'll discuss questions 4 and 5 now.